the Newmarket Budget Committee March 28, 2016 meeting. Before we get started, I would like to call the meeting to order with the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, attendance real quick. Craig is out of town, as Dan is as well, and Amy emailed me for the town and was not able to make it, so 3 are excused. And welcome officially, Ashley. We have your budget law book there for you already, which is much faster than we had last year. You're special. Take your time, peruse it. You're not going to need it till next fall, but there's a lot of stuff in there that I'm sure is going to come into play this year. As we learned the last time, anything major comes along. So especially 10% rule and bonding and stuff like that. So before we go any further into the meeting, as this is the first meeting of the fiscal year 2018 budget committee. I got that right? Fiscal 2018? All right, good. Yeah. We need to elect the chair and the vice chair. So can I get a nomination for chair to start it off?
I'll nominate Mr. Dave Foltz for chair of the budget committee for this coming year.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, okay. Unanimous. And vice chair, can I get a nomination for vice chair?
I'll make a nomination for Dan Smith to be vice chair of the budget committee for this coming year.
Okay, do I have a second?
I'll second.
All those in favor, say aye.
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 All right, so you want to switch chairs?
Yeah, switch. That's the best part.
He's got a lot there to take a little bit.
Help him out with that.
Make this real official.
Oh,
There you go, sir.
Good to have you back on.
Now look out.
So as far as old business, we have approval of the February 1st minutes, which I actually think was our shortest meeting ever. I think it was all of about 12 minutes. Actually, I guess before I say that, can I have a motion to approve the minutes for February 1st, 2016?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes for February 1st, 2016.
You're all into motions tonight.
I am.
Can I get a second?
Second.
Did we see anything in the minutes? The 2 pages.
Did it capture the dead or not quite dead fly?
No, I did not see the fly notes in here.
Okay.
I can look, but I
It's
didn't
history's
see it.
loss.
Okay.
Gotta leave something for the video, right?
I didn't see anything in here. I mean, it was short and sweet, so. All right, all those in favor of accepting the minutes as written, say aye.
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 And 1 abstention, because Ashley wasn't here.
I wasn't either, David.
And neither was Meg, so 2 abstentions. All right, so I have enough for you too, Patricia, so you can take one. I just typed out the budget committee roles and responsibilities from last year, same thing, but I just put in this year's dates in there as far as the deadlines that are in there.
You can have 2.
And pretty much the ones the dates that are the key ones, especially when we get into January. In a second, I'll pass out the calendar as I went through and looked through it. January is going to be really tight, especially if we're going to do, or I'm not even going to say if, when we do a bond hearing. I'm sure there's going to be some form of bond hearing based on the information we've gotten. So with all those dates, January is going to be pretty jam-packed. So if we can get a lot of things accomplished in end of November, beginning of December, January won't be as crazy for us. But I'm anticipating between the school and the facilities and then the budget and things like that, we'll have some pretty big topics to discuss. So I'm not going to go through and read everything. I mean, it's pretty much verbatim what's been handed out the last 2-3 years. So, I mean, Ashley, if you have any questions after going it over it, by all means, go ahead and ask. There's nothing in there that's major other than the dates that I wanted you guys to have, because the budgets are our budgets, and we'll also be holding the bond hearing if there's a bond hearing. Even though it's a school, it's still us. Okay? Any questions? Nothing?
Thanks for looking ahead.
Trying. Well, we're going to skip this one, and then I'm going to hand out your calendars too, so you can kind of see. I went through and tried to be a little bit cognizant of, do we need to have a meeting every single month like we did last year? And I really didn't feel we needed to, especially over the summertime when there's really nothing to report. So I went through, these are just tentative, guys, as far as the circles on there. The budget committee typically meets, dust in my lungs. No, I sucked it almost. Excuse me, sorry. So I highlighted the fourth Monday of, hopefully it's not contagious, of every month. April, I didn't put a meeting in there because that's the week of school vacation. And I know that's usually a bad week to try to get everybody corralled. And as well, there's not going to be a lot to report. In May, I'm going to work with Steve and Christine to try to get an update from both the town and the school before we get to the end of the budget year, just kind of know where it's going to be. And then we don't get really into reporting on the budget till probably the end of August. So I didn't see the need for a June or July meeting. Unless anybody has any reservations to that, would like to meet every month, let me know.
Can we ask for reports on the actuals in the meantime? We don't have to meet, but I'd like to see them.
Yeah, we should be getting, like from Steve, and we should be getting the reports on a monthly basis. I know the last couple of months we haven't gotten
Right, that's what I mean.
anything, so I'll get with Steve and see if we can get back to getting that monthly. And same thing from Christine, if we can get something, just so that we're getting something that's updating us until we get to that time.
Yeah, I think we didn't get as many from the school as we got from the town. So it'd be nice to get the same from both.
I will see what I can do. I mean, Mike, I don't know what Christine can do. You can ask. I mean, I know it's a lot of accounting on her end, and there's a lot of grants and all that kind of stuff that we don't necessarily have all the information until the very, very end.
Yeah, is Steve doing it monthly?
Yeah, he does it monthly.
Okay.
At least he had been. I think the last couple of months have really been the hiccup. Other than that, we've been getting it pretty much on a monthly basis.
Okay. I'll see what I can do.
And it doesn't need to be the whole big thing we get at the end. It just can be a 1-sheet, 2-sheet update, just because that's kind of what Steve gives us. It's not. I don't
suspect
need
it's already just printable. You know,
Yeah,
it's
it
gotta
doesn't
be.
need to be a
That's what I was hoping.
full-blown anything. Just so we have a better idea, because I know, especially with everything coming up next year, it's just the more prepared we can be, the better. And then the other one I passed out was just the January calendar, was just to kind of give you guys an idea of what are the key dates that has to be done, like when's the last day we can hold a budget hearing for the town and the school, when the last day that we can hold a bond hearing is, when I think the deliberative session will be. I mean, I put a tentative date because based on the calendar, that's probably where it'll fall. If anything, it might move to the 4th, but my guess it'll probably be the 28th because it's been that weekend almost every year. So backing all the dates out, that means the first 2 weeks of January are crazy. So it would probably be in our best interest to have a school hearing separate from a bond hearing. But if we have to, we can do them together. It just would be a really long night. I think you were on when you had one of those, didn't you? And it was a long
Very
hearing.
long.
Yeah, it was like a 4-hour. Yeah, I was gonna say I think you were on that one. I remember that one. That was a long one.
I would see a lot of benefit to breaking those up, because you segregate the issues somewhat.
I agree.
And turn, maybe one is going to be a lot less emotionally charged than the other, one would hope.
So looking at that, you're probably looking at the second or whatever as far as a budget hearing for the school, and then probably the following, the 10th or the 9th or whatever it is, would be the bond hearing if we had to, because I know that would have to be done by like the 13th. So I think, just, we're all kind of looking forward, and I know, you're going to try to have a lot of information out in the next, few months so that you have plenty of time to get ready. But with that said, it's just, I wanted you guys to kind of get your head into, where things are going to be come December, January.
Based on what you just said, does it make sense for us to maybe plan an additional meeting in October or November if we have more information to cover? I mean, we don't have to plan it now. But
Yeah,
I
no,
just mean, does it make
and
sense?
that was one of the things I was going to say is once we know more, I think once we know a lot more on the facilities and stuff like that, I think another meeting somewhere in there would definitely behoove us, whether it's the beginning of November, beginning of October, something like that, just so that we don't just go in having to just put the pedal to the metal and go nonstop.
It might also be hard to intermix that with the regular budget discussions that we have, which may be a big deal too.
Yep. Yeah, I see a lot coming down this year, so I think this is probably going to be one of the busier budget cycles we've seen in a few years. It's just because a lot of things are coming to a head between the town and the school. So I just think it's going to be one of those years where the more prepared we can be, the easier it'll be on us. I agree wholeheartedly with that, Jeff. So as we get closer to the fall and we know more, then we'll pick out some dates. But I just wanted to put it on the calendar because I know we all have day jobs too, and sometimes it's just trying to coordinate just to make sure that we can make some of the meetings if we need to. Any questions? Oh, we passed our 12 minutes, sorry. So as far as the meeting schedule, I figured there's no need for April because of the school vacation week. And then we'll work to get updates from Steve and Christine for the May. So that'll be the 23rd. It's the week, Monday before Memorial Day. So that should be okay. And hopefully we'll have some updates by then. And I mean, Steve said that would be no problem. And also, he couldn't be here for April to do an update. He's out of town, so it made no sense then to have a meeting in April. So the other piece is that I just wanted to throw out for discussion. I know, 2 or 3 years ago we talked about attendance and things like that. Last year we really didn't. I just want to make sure, especially once we get to the meat of it, that we don't have to do a lot of jumping around. I mean, there's nothing about, you had some family emergencies and stuff like that, and there's nothing you can do about that stuff, but let's just try to pencil in those dates so that, especially once we get into October, November, December, when it gets pretty crazy, we're okay. So, what did we do?
I think we followed the actual,
Charter?
the
Yeah, there's,
budget law book, which is if you miss four consecutive, there can be some issues involved, but I think we just followed what the
Okay,
budgeting
that's what I think we did too.
required, yeah.
there's some percentage also in either the charter or the RSA's.
Yeah, if you miss over 40%, so there's 9 meetings this year, so if you miss 4 meetings, that becomes an issue. And we had a little bit of that last year, and we resolved it, but we had some of that. So, other than that, I don't have a lot for tonight. It was more just to kind of reorg and get everything set for this year. Is there anything anybody would like to bring up?
Do you think possibly in July we could get year ends from school in town, or end of July? August?
August.
Okay.
Because last year it took us until the end of August to even get preliminary numbers from both, and that's just, with all the accounting, they close up July 1st, and it took them a couple months, both of them, just because there was so many other things they had to deal with. I would love to say, sure, but the last 3 years I haven't seen that happen.
I'm just kind of piggybacking on what Jeff, with the town side, we were getting full budget monthly reports, which was a little excessive, but also getting just a recap of everything, and then the final for the actuals for current year is helpful going into the next budget cycle, because you can see exactly what we spent and not spent and saved and not saved and all of that.
What I'd like to see happen is the May meeting, kind of get, where are we for this year? Where do we see us finishing? Because Steve last year was within like $1,000.
Yep.
And the school was pretty close too. And then in August again, let's get it all updated as to where they see we are, so that once we get out of August, now we're dealing with the next budget cycle instead of still trying to, I think it was September.
The town side's pretty easy. I know the school side had,
Encumbrances, all kinds of.
they also had the issue with the gym, which was an insurance issue. Where does that fall as far as, having to spend insurance money? Also, we had boiler issues a couple of times throughout the year. So it's just nice to see a year end from the school side as well, going into the next cycle, especially when they're going to have some things that are going to be, and usually are, controversial.
Yeah, because I'm sure now that you've had the land buy and stuff like that, there'll be some plan, not a word, but I'm sure there's going to be things that got voted on that will.
I'm actually glad you mentioned that. This may be way too soon, but do you know where we stand at that? The only reason why I say that is I drove by and I saw the sale pending sign, because I go by it every day,
Yeah.
on my way down here. So
Yep.
are we still at
Yeah,
a
no,
holding
the-
pattern?
the-
or-
The closing blue has to happen after the July 1st.
Oh, okay.
because it's-
After the hearing,
yeah.
or after the budget cycle.
After the budget. 'cause
Sure.
So it's based in part on, I forget what the breakdown is off the top of my head, from a trust fund and from tax dollars. It was broken up. And so that'll happen hopefully in July, the closing, presuming we don't find anything on an inspection. We've already done an inspection, we'll talk about this at tomorrow night's school board meeting, for asbestos in the inside, and it's kind of like the Carpenter building, as I understand. It's going to cost us about $25,000 to remove some asbestos inside the building. And Rick gave us an estimate, I think of, don't quote me on this, but I think of $23,000 to tear everything down, the buildings, and level them, just like was done at the Carpenter property. But the other thing that's sort of contingent upon the year-end budget is the $150,000, up to $150,000 amount for architectural and engineering fees. That's contingent upon that being, left at the end of this budget year. So we're keeping a keen eye on that. Yeah, so.
And the landowner and the person is okay with a July, because it's been up for sale for a while?
It's a fair, yeah, it's in the purchase and sale agreement.
Okay.
It's specific in the purchase and sale that we can't close until that time. Yeah.
Okay.
So it's all good.
Okay.
They're, to their credit, I think they have an interest, they had an interest all along, I think, in selling it to the school, to the district, so they accommodated us on that. Yeah.
That's good.
And since we're on that, the council's already working on the land swap, document
Yeah, I saw that.
for behind. That doesn't really affect us, but just for your knowledge, so that'll happen, I would think, over the next couple of months, if, barring any unforeseen obstacles there, so.
Okay.
Thank you. You made me think of that, because I
Nope,
drove
you're
by
good.
it.
No, I drove by it. the
I
other
just
day
saw the
too,
sign,
and
and I
just-
was like, hey, wait a second.
But I thought it
We
had something to
voted.
do with the budget cycle.
Sure.
July. Dan?
Two things. One, since we're going to have a new superintendent and an assistant super who may or may not have any role in the school's budgeting, I think it would be good, perhaps for a sub-quorum size group of us, to at least meet up with them and talk about the budget cycle. I mean, I know the new super has probably been through this at some level when she was at Oyster River, but since they're coming into this new, and especially what we have in front of us and what we've learned in the past couple of years, it would be nice to just introduce ourselves and try to set some desires.
Partnerships.
Yeah, partnerships is a very good way to put it. Second thing, I don't know whether this is anything we can get updates from Steve on over the course of the year, but I'm still have all of those projections for 18-19 and 19-20 from last year's budget cycle ringing in the back of my head, and I'd be very curious, maybe as we get into the second half of the year, to get an update from Steve and Matt on how they think the future is tracking
Right.
relative to those numbers that they put out, because it's just not something we'd better explore it before we get to the point of the hearings, because it's the last thing in the world you want to have thrown back in our face if we get into a very contentious hearing over the bonding and the other budgets, and someone saying, well, how can we afford to do this when the town says that the rate's going to go up $2 in 1819?
Yeah, I think that was pretty clear with the hearing this year, that was a very, that was a hot point that I think we definitely need to get clarification and keep an eye on. As much as they were a forecast, if they do come to fruition, absolutely. So I think that's more of a next budget cycle. So once we close out this one in June, at the end of June, then that's one that I think we need to pay attention to as well, because the next year, the 18 wasn't the bad one. It was the 1920, I believe, that where it really spiked up.
Yeah,
I have to go
can't
back and
remember.
look, but I know it jumps, but then it really spiked if that's the case.
Which is really not the budget
That's
we're
the
going to
next
work
bud-
on.
Not this one, the following one.
following
No, that's what
year.
I'm saying. It's not this year, but it's the
It's-
following year. So to your point, it's there. And I think that's why I say this year could be a very busy year for us, is I think there's quite a few things that are gonna kind of come to discussion and come up that we're gonna have to make some tough decisions on, because I don't think we can, as a town, financially afford every single thing that's gonna come our way. And there are, if you want to get right down to it, there are limits that we can go up to a bond based on whether the town can go up to 3%, the school can go up to 7%, and then, but when you break that down into what dollars are on the, the appraised value of the town, it's not a lot. And I think it's 23 some odd million for the town and possibly about 52 for the school. And once you get over that, then we're over what they consider our ceiling. So, okay. When does she officially takes over July 1st, right?
Yeah, but she's
She's already
involved
there.
now, and I was just looking on the calendar, and if everybody's agreeable, maybe we invite her to the May 23rd meeting,
I'm game.
yeah.
Absolutely.
I'll find out if she can make it down, so,
And if she can, I'll be more than happy to send out personal invites, stuff like that would be great.
yeah. I think that's a good idea, yeah.
Yeah.
If we do choose to have a group, do we have the power to form subcommittees?
I don't know. I would have to get with Steve on that one,
Okay.
to be quite honest with you. I'm not sure.
We might not need one, but I didn't know
Yeah,
if we
I
could just
just,
say.
I want to
we had a
find out,
group.
because I know that if you have more than 3 people from different committees, then it's a public meeting.
Okay.
I know that was in the right to know law when we got into all that if you have more than, I think it's like if you have 3 from the town council, 3 from school, and 3 from the budget, that's considered a public meeting.
Well, 3's a quorum for them, right? But not for us.
No, but it becomes
Yeah,
a public
right.
meeting.
No,
yeah.
I know what you mean.
So, okay.
Not nearly as exciting, but are we okay with the 6:30 time to meet? Did anybody want to?
That was my next question. We can move it to 7. It's always been 6:30 since we've been doing this, but every other committee in town meets at 7. I know sometimes 6:30, I'm running in the door, I'm wolfing down a sandwich and heading over here. But
I have one comment. If the hearings will be 7, can we just make it 7 for all of them? Because that was not a real problem.
Trying to
but
remember what time we're
Trying to
doing
figure out
something?
one meeting to the next, which time it was going to be when it got to hearing season. It was a little bit more complicated than it needed to be.
I mean, for me, 7 o'clock would be easier. I don't know about everybody else. I just know with work sometimes
I'm fine either
you're
way.
fine, so,
I prefer 7.
okay.
7's good.
Doesn't matter.
I'm game. Well, we'll be leaving at 7:25 now instead of.
Instead of 7.
I'm game, whatever.
Works for me.
I like 6.
Do we need to have a motion to change our
That's what I
meetings?
was
Because
just
a lot
going
of
to
times
ask.
it's posted 6:30. I don't know if that, we have to or not, that I don't know.
I would just do it, do a motion, and then,
So I have a motion to move the budget committee start time for our meetings to 7 o'clock versus 6:30.
I will second. I will make a motion, sorry.
Okay,
you
who will
can't-
second?
Sorry.
Okay, Blue made the motion.
I will make a motion to move all budget committee meetings from here on until it is discussed again at 7 PM.
I will
Hopefully every third Monday,
Fourth.
Fourth Monday.
fourth Monday. although would during budget say it go third, fourth,
Every other,
fifth.
every,
Yeah.
yeah.
7 PM, yeah.
I'm going to second that.
As I understand it, I second
Right.
that.
So we are moving our meetings to 7 o'clock.
I don't know, are we? Should
We
we,
have to vote.
discussion?
Any discussion?
Meg's like,
I like 6:30.
Oh, do you have a conflict?
It's just easier personally,
No,
but
that's okay, but if you had a conflict, that would be
Yeah.
a good reason to not
Yeah.
move it.
no,
No.
nothing,
Okay.
just logistics.
Anybody else? Craig and Dan don't have a voice because they're not here.
How about our recorder? Does she have an issue with 7 o'clock? Okay.
I mean, they're only going to be half hour, 45 minutes for the first few. That's the end ones.
You
that'll
do a
get
terrific
long.
job, that's why I asked. It's
Yeah.
group effort. Group effort.
Thank you.
All right. All those in favor of moving it to 7 o'clock, say aye.
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 All those opposed?
Aye.
Okay. So that's 7 to 1. You're upstairs.
Upstairs.
All right, I will get with Wendy to let her know, because I know she's already posted something for April, and I also need to let her know that the meeting for April is no longer going to happen. So, 7 o'clock start times. Anything else?
Like to make a motion to adjourn?
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Meeting adjourned.